and welcome to the Latina Leaders podcast, where we celebrate, empower, and uplift Hispanic and BIPOC women. I'm your host, Jennifer Cortez, creative entrepreneur and advocate for the comunidad, and founder of Latina Leaders. And I am super excited today because I'm connecting with someone so amazing across all the way in Los Angeles, California. Her name is Dr. Guerra, and she has grown up in Los Angeles. She is Guatemalan and Ecuadorian descent, as well as an active member in the Roman Catholic Church. She also earned her doctorate in Systematic Philosophical Theology from the Graduate Theological Union, Berkeley. And she's currently teaching as well in the University of California, Los Angeles, in the César E. Chávez Department of Chicana, Chicano Studies, and Central American Studies. And her long-term goal is to serve as an advocate for the U.S. Latinx community through her work. In addition, she hosts as well a podcast of her very own called Gold Hoops and God. So I would love to welcome Dr. Guerra.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited we connected. I love that we're connecting across borders, quite literally. It's amazing. I love that.
Yes, so first of all, thank you for reaching out to me. You happen to found my small little channel, Latina Leaders, on YouTube, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And you reached out, so I really do appreciate that. And I love that we're connecting, like you said, across borders and trying to make a difference here,
Yeah.
empower our women,
Mhm.
and I love everything about your profile. So can you just tell me a little bit about I know I introduced you, but I'm like, I want to know what made you get into the field that you're in, and just keep moving forward and going for that doctorate degree because that's not an easy thing.
Yeah, it is definitely it's been a journey. Academia is not always the most friendly place, especially for women of color. Even before we kind of got started, I shared with you that, my parents didn't get the opportunity to go to school, to go to college or anything. So the fact that I was able to, like you said, like quite literally push through
Mhm.
and do, you know, not only undergrad, but grad school and finish a PhD, it's honestly, for me, it's more so like a testament to our community and that I feel like, I don't want to get emotional. I feel like I cannot let my people down, even as much as, we think about like ancestors and things like that. My grandfather on my mom's side, he was from Guatemala. He came to the US as a tailor, so talk about like the changes that have happened generation to generation. It's exciting. And so, yeah, really, it's always, for me, it's always been about faith and culture. Always. I'm very grateful that my mom especially instilled that sense of faith and prayer, into me from day one. And I've always really loved my culture. As you mentioned, my mom's side of the family is Guatemalan, my dad's side is Ecuadorian. And we've always embraced that. I grew up speaking Spanish and I love it. I'm always like in awe of people's stories, as you get to know people. And it's, in other words, like you meet so many people that we do have a similar story, the resilience, the struggle, the pushing forward,
Yeah.
in many different ways. That looks differently in different homes and different families, but I feel like that's the thread, honestly, is like we're such a strong, beautiful community. And so sometimes, it is. Sometimes it's hard. When I remember when I was studying, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
another paper, another book. Like I'm estoy harta, like I can't do this anymore, right? And literally, like a little sign or a little something would remind me of my family or community, or someone would say something of like, we're so proud of you, or like you can do it, or, you know, and even now, like as a professor, I teach at UCLA, and we just wrapped up teaching, grades are in, et cetera. And I had several students, reach out to me and really thank me. They're like, some of them are Latino, some of them were not.
Yeah.
Like you opened our eyes to a lot of things that are happening. My Latino students are like, it was so amazing to have a Latina professor, and even more specifically, a Central American professor. A lot of my students are Guatemalan. A lot of my students are El Salvadorian. It's like, wow, like it means something. And so that's kind of sort of a, a broader way to say it. Like that's how I've made it to this point. Yeah.
That's what keeps you going, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
love that you're a professor too, because so am I.
Yeah, that's so
But
cool. I love it.
so I totally understand when
You know how that goes. Yeah.
like your students, you connect with them and it just becomes so special, that connection.
It is.
So
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So first of all, congratulations on all that. I did not go for my doctorate, but I do have my master's degree, and for me that
That's
was enough.
amazing.
That
It's
was enough.
huge.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I
It's
can't.
fantastic. It's
But
fantastic.
the studying part, like that whole thing, I can relate to you because I remember I had bloodshot eyes from reading
Yeah.
so much and headaches and anyways.
Yeah. It's draining. It is. It's a tough haul, like it really is. Just that resilience and that drive to keep going. Some days it's really tough. But no, congratulations on having a master's. Like
Uh,
that's huge. Yeah,
thank
definitely something to be proud of. Yeah.
thank you.
Totally.
And so, well, I'm just saying, like, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's funny
Yeah.
how our
Yeah.
lives are almost parallel, almost, right?
Yeah.
You living all the way, and I love that you're in California. So you got to
Mhm.
speak to me on what it was it like growing up in California as, Guatemalan Ecuadorian.
Yeah. So identity is such a fascinating thing. So I grew up in Los Angeles. Specifically, the neighborhood is Koreatown. So that in and of itself is a unique place to be. So Koreatown has the largest numbers in terms of Koreans and Korean Americans outside of Korea. And so it's a very strong culture. It's beautiful. Growing up, so many of my classmates and friends and neighbors were Asian American. And
Mm.
so I had that exposure, which I'm grateful to. My schools have always, thank God, I'm grateful that they've always been very diverse. I've always had friends, Filipino friends, Latino friends, African American friends, right? And I'm glad that I've been able to
Yeah.
encounter and embrace like all people, because you hear stories of like folks who, they've never met someone outside of their own race,
Yeah.
and again, coming from LA, that's crazy to me. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around, right? So there's that part. And more specifically in my family, yeah, my mom's side of the family, I would say I spent the most amount of time with them. So more so with my Guatemalan side. Although I did spend time with my dad's family, my Ecuadorian side. There are fewer Ecuadorians, as you know, there's fewer Ecuadorians in Los Angeles. And I remember quite clearly the first time I went to New York and I felt like, whoa, the Ecuadorian community, this is so cool. Like there's so many stores, so many shops. Like, that was really exciting. It was super fun. And it's different, like each country is different, even though it's Latin America, it is different. And I remember, this is ironic, the time in my life when I had the most Ecuadorian food was actually when I lived in Madrid, Spain. It
Really? Oh my goodness. So it's popular down there
was
as
so
well?
funny. Yeah, because there's a lot of Ecuadorians who have migrated to
Yeah.
Spain. And I remember one day I was wandering around, kind of enjoying downtown, etc. And I was like, whoa, es una, restaurante ecuatoriano, no way, right? And
Yeah.
so I went in and the food was amazing and I was there like all the time. They like, knew me by the end. They're like, oh my God. But it's, life is funny like that. Yeah, so it definitely always embraced my culture and, you know,
It's a beautiful culture, isn't it?
it is. Yeah, it is. I love, our music. Like my mom will play marimba, music from Guatemala. I grew up dancing salsa. My parents danced salsa growing up.
Wow.
And
Okay.
oh, actually, funny enough, I actually DJ'd for a short amount of time at KXLU, it's a station. Look how funny life
Oh,
is.
I heard of this station. Yes,
Yeah.
I heard of
So
it.
so KXLU is a radio station that's housed on the campus of Loyola Marymount University. My parents, when they were dating, they would listen to KXLU because it comes through here in LA when you're driving around, especially on like the west side. Um, and on Saturday, Sunday, they have a show called Alma del Barrio, and it's all salsa. I think it's from 6 to 6, like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. My parents would listen to it all the time. Funny enough, fast forward many years, when I went to college, I went to Loyola Marymount. that's exactly where I went to school. And so for a little bit of time while I was there, or maybe even shortly after, I DJ'd for Alma del Barrio. So it was like a full circle kind
Wow,
of moment.
you even
Yeah.
DJ as well. That's amazing.
You
Oh,
know, it's adventure. It's all, and I feel like why not? You know, it's kind of like why not, right? Like I'm really starting to embrace that why not. And it's funny, you know, it's celebrities, you know, they're entertaining, they're funny, etc. But that's one thing that I realized, like, oh my God, they have no problem doing it all, right? You know,
right.
they have no problem doing it all. They're like, oh, I'm in a play, oh, I'm, you know, DJing, oh, I have a book, oh, I have this, like,
So true.
why can't I do
Why
that?
can't we? No, that
Yeah,
is such
why
a
not
good
me?
point, and I love that. Like it's limitless. We can do really whatever we want. So that's a great message, first of all. You're
Absolutely.
saying right
Don't limit
now,
yourself.
yeah,
Don't limit yourself. Yeah. I mean, like I love Paris Hilton and I highly recommend if folks haven't to read her book because she's actually been through it. Although she's from a very wealthy family, she had a lot of trauma growing up.
yes, I heard about that
And
trauma.
yeah, and so what I love about her is that despite all she's been through, she really does try to give back in a lot of ways. And she just lives her life. You know, she's out there, she's DJing, she has her family, you know,
Unapologetic.
it's great, you know. So I actually really enjoy her and I look up to her as an example.
Yeah, just live life. And doesn't she
Do
say
it.
something like sliving or something like that?
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah,
I've seen it.
yeah.
So, oh, awesome. Well, first of all, that sounds amazing. And I totally agree with you. And LA is I've been to LA, I've been to California, but I think the last time I was there was 2018. So it was a different, before COVID, before the
Yeah,
pandemic.
yeah.
But what I loved about going there, first of all, I love the vibe. As soon as I get
Mhm.
off the plane, it's a completely different vibe from where
Mhm.
we are from. It's
Um,
the mountains, like everything is so beautiful, and I
yeah.
and I noticed it like immediately because
Mhm.
if you come here, there's like no mountains, no nothing.
Oh,
Like
wow.
flat.
It's all flat.
It's like Ontario, Canada, so flat. I'm like,
Um,
there's like not enough of that unless you go to Vancouver, so that's
mhm.
closer to California, right?
Yeah,
Um,
amazing.
but that was the one thing I do remember is how beautiful the palm trees, the vibe.
We're lucky. I
You're
mean, you
so
know, like
lucky, and the
we're really
weather.
lucky. We're really lucky. Like, yes, things are expensive, of course, but it's like, you know, I have the beach 30 minutes away. If I wanted to go skiing, I can drive a couple hours and be in the
Oh my
snow.
gosh, I
If I
couldn't.
want to drive a couple hours, I can be in
Yeah.
Mexico and, you know, we're close to Tijuana, etc. Right. So we have everything, forest, ocean. It's as far as like, well, both. I mean, not only diversity, but also the diversity of the natural world. You know, we have all kinds of yeah, we just have so much different options for nature. So
When you said skiing, I saw that. I was like, I cannot
yeah,
believe that I'm right here and I could see
yeah,
people skiing. I'm
yeah.
like, how is this possible?
It's crazy. Yeah, it is.
But yeah, yeah,
And we take it for granted for sure. Like growing up here, sometimes we really take it for granted. Like, you
yes.
know, like you have desert. Oh my God, desert. We have Joshua Tree. We have yeah.
Yeah, no, so that first of all, that sounds amazing. And everything that you've done with it, I like your life and going by what your parents have gone through. I went through the same thing, like growing up with our families. It's just you see what they go through, the
Yeah.
struggle, and you kind of just want to do better. And it's almost like a thank you,
Mhm.
don't waste yourself in this
Right,
country that they've
right,
struggled in,
right.
or your country, right?
Mhm.
So first of all, thank you for even bringing all that to Latino leaders for connecting with me and just everything you've done just sounds really amazing. And the fact that you also have a podcast as well. So I love that you're a host of your own podcast, and I really love the graphic, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
So it's a beautiful graphic. It's so eye-catching. And tell us about your podcast and how that happened.
Absolutely. So the Gold Hips and God podcast started about a year ago, and it's so funny. Ironically, I was hesitant to start a podcast because I felt like I know another podcast, right? There's like 50,000 podcasts out there. Do we really need to add more, right? And as I kind of mentioned, like you know, a person of faith, very spiritual. And to be honest, it was basically like a nudge from God from my guides, etc., to be like, no, you need to do a podcast. Like it doesn't matter, da igual if there's 50,000 podcasts already, your voice needs to be up there. You need to talk, you need to say these things, you need to bring in, a certain perspective.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, here we go, right? And so, it's been amazing. I truly have like learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about, of course, like from my guests, them sharing their stories and really like starting to see the patterns. We do have a lot of similar experiences as a community, and yet there's differences, right? It's both and it's been great. It's been really wonderful. The main reason why I started it was because I realized that, this topic of religion, it can be very tricky. It can be
Yeah.
very sensitive to people, very off-putting, etc., which I understand. And even in my class, like I know students had questions like, wow, people have so many questions, but they don't really have a space to ask, or there's not really like a place to have conversation without feeling either attacked, shut down, etc. Because sometimes in families, it's too sensitive.
Yeah.
It can be very sensitive if, for example, like let's say a young person goes to their parent or siblings, like, I'm not really sure if I believe, I'm not really sure what I think, I don't really like this about this, it can become a big argument, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
And I think that many of us, we're on a journey. We are on a journey. We have questions. There's this need for reflection, I feel like for sure. And so I wanted to sort of bridge those two things that I really love, which is faith and culture. And I was like, oh, what's something iconic? What's something that like Latinas are sort of like known for? And I was like, the hoops. I was like,
The hoops
gold
and the red
hoops.
lips, which
Right,
I'm
the gold hoops
wearing
and red
red
lips.
today
Yes,
for
exactly.
you, which I normally
Exactly,
don't, but
exactly. And so I was like, okay, so that'll be like the culture part. And how about the faith? I was like, well, we're going to talk about God, like broadly defined, right? And so that's kind of how the concept came up. And I'm really happy. It's been a wonderful experience. It's been a great journey. I'm super excited that recently, just as of like 2 weeks ago, I partnered with Genuina Media. They're actually based in Mexico.
I saw this post. Congratulations.
Yeah, yeah, which is very exciting. Again, like my hope is to just continue to grow the podcast, to continue to invite people to guest speak on the podcast. And, in terms of like long-term projects, I would love to do more in Spanish. That's the other thing, is like,
Yeah.
again, kind of in terms of like mission, right? In terms of like a personal mission that I feel like I'm being led towards is like, well, you have the capacity, you're bilingual. Like, why are you not doing something for Spanish speakers too?
Yeah.
So hopefully I can kind of start something like that soon.
I
Yeah.
know, I hear you. But first of all, congratulations on
Thank
that,
you.
and the 1 year as well.
Thank you.
And I hear you. Like when something is telling you, like there's like a voice or something's
Yeah.
constantly
This
there, that
nudge.
a
Hmm.
feeling that you have to do something. But I agree with you because I almost didn't start the podcast either because of this
Yeah.
thing, because I was like, there's too many. Who's gonna listen to it? Like,
Yeah.
So, but you know what? People end up listening to it if you have something valuable to say and it's something you
Yeah.
believe in, you're passionate about,
Yeah.
you're gonna find your audience. It'll just come.
It's so true. It was really beautiful. Um, Pretty recently, I had a friend of mine that I hadn't talked to in a very long time. They had heard my episode where I talked about mental health and things in my own, mental health journey. And they shared with me some of their mental health struggles. I was like, wow, like I
Mm.
don't think that they would have reached out otherwise, right? Like they have no, in other words, like they had no reason to share this with me.
Right.
It was actually them listening to the podcast, they felt less alone. So for that in and of itself, I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like
Yeah.
now I'm kind of understanding more like the bigger picture, right? Like the deeper purpose of it all. Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank
So everyone,
you.
you have to listen to Dr. G's or Dr. Guerra's podcast. And where can you find this podcast for everyone to know?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find the podcast videos on YouTube. So I upload those every Wednesday. And then the audio is available in all the major platforms where you listen to podcasts like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I think iHeart, and all of those
Awesome.
places. And I'm online too. If folks want to reach out, I'm on Instagram at goldhoops_. underscore God. Yeah, so reach out, folks. Thank
Both hoops and
you.
God, and I love that too. I love the GG and Dr. G. I love the whole thing. I picked up on that. I don't know if that was on purpose, but that it was all the G's there. So that's amazing. Congratulations on that. And I look forward to, being a guest as well. So
Absolutely, yes. I'm excited.
thank you for having me, and I love having you here today. Have you spoken to anyone else outside of like in Canada at all, or on your podcast?
I haven't. I think that would be really awesome. Yeah, definitely. I'd love to be worldwide, right? I would love to talk with folks,
Because
Latinos. And
I have some friends that are very strong in faith, Latina, if you're
amazing.
interested, and they do
Please,
work
please.
for women as well. They
I
have
love
their
it.
groups. I can connect you if you're interested.
I love it. Absolutely. Yeah, it would be amazing. And that's actually, to your point, there are Latinas who live all around the world. We're not just in the US, people live all over the world. And so it would be really cool to connect with other Latinas.
100%.
Amazing.
Okay, and I love this. So, in terms of anything else, because it seems like you've done everything. Anything, is there anything else that you're aspiring that you care to share, if it's not too personal?
So it's so interesting. Like speaking of mission, etc., things that I know that I need to accomplish, I'm working on my first book,
Oh,
which
congrats.
is exciting. And it's so funny. Like during the pandemic, I was very close to sort of giving up on it. I was like, you're right. I was like, I really want to do this project? Do I not, etc. But there has been like so much, basically like uh I would say reminders, insights, etc., that have come up that it's like I actually it's not even like a if, it's like a required kind of thing at this point, which
Yeah.
might sound weird, that might sound weird to people. But again, like it's it's not about me. It's actually about the community. It's about a bigger purpose, etc.
Mhm.
And it's so fascinating how like now I can kind of see why things happened the way they did because like as you mentioned, like my training is primarily in systematic theology, but then somehow some way by the grace of God I ended up at UCLA in an ethnic studies department, right? And so I'm like, right now I'm seeing why.
Mhm.
Now I'm seeing why, because I think actually the book is going to be more of a fusion of theology and Central American studies. So it's exciting. I can't wait for that to come out. Yeah.
That is so amazing that you're working where you're working, like basically representing the community there. Your name is there, Dr. Guerra's there, you have the students. It's just
Mhm.
amazing what you're doing. So congratulations
Thank
on all
you.
of that. And you are definitely a Latina leader.
Oh, thank
A Latino
you.
leader, you're showing that leadership. And one last thing I want to ask you is what advice would you give to, I guess, younger Latinas or your students even that you have, Latinas, for them, maybe to empower them in order for them to keep going?
I would say to trust yourself. Trust yourself, trust your intuition. And what does that mean? Sometimes it can be really hard to sort of quiet the other voices, meaning family, culture, friends, pressure, et cetera, et cetera. For example, if someone's like, oh man, like I really want to open a bakery, but everyone's like, you'll never make money. So you're not gonna, what are you gonna do with that? Da, 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 da. You were
Yeah,
supposed to be an
that's
engineer,
true.
da, 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 da.
Yep.
Right? Like the little nitpicking negative voices that are trying to bring you down. No, mija, if you're in your heart, you want to go make cupcakes, go do it. Right? Whatever it is, like insert the topic there, and I think it's so important because many of us we feel a lot of pressure, even in terms of like how we structure our lives, right? If a person wants to get married and go live on a farm and have 6 children, go for it. If someone doesn't want to get married and wants to live in a high rise, a penthouse in New York, single, and that's what they want to do and work on Wall Street, do it. In other words, like whatever road you choose, let it be your road. Don't let other people put you down or distract you or belittle you in any way. Like trust your gut, trust your heart, and it won't steer you wrong. I feel like anything that is not perfect, it's meant to teach you a lesson. Like it's meant to teach you a lesson. Be it a job that doesn't work out, a relationship that doesn't work out, we grow and we learn. And for example, applying to things, trust that rejection is redirection. Trust that the reason you were rejected from that application, whatever it may be, maybe it wasn't time yet. Maybe you wouldn't have thrived there. Who knows? Maybe something better is coming a week later and then you just hang tight. So it's all of those things. Like, yeah, that would be my number one advice is to like learn to trust your gut, to trust yourself for
That's
sure.
and that's fantastic advice because we get that all the time, even especially growing up. Like we get everyone's opinions everywhere, and
Too much.
that can influence,
Yeah.
especially if you're in your 20s, a lot, right?
Yeah.
At that age, you don't know yourself well enough yet.
Impressionable, right? They say very impressionable. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that advice. Thank you for that. And it's so true. And yeah, keep on your path, whatever you want to do. And I love how you threw in the Mika in there. It's just
Yeah,
whatever you want
whatever it is,
to
like go for it. Like don't let anybody like stop you or keep you down. Like you know,
do.
um yeah, it's so interesting. Like I'll say this, if I had listened to other people, I wouldn't have done some of the most awesome, amazing, fun things of my life. For example, like going abroad to Spain, everyone's like, oh no, you're gonna be gone for a long time. You're doing this. Da, 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 da. I did it anyway.
Yeah.
I think actually I have to say I'm grateful for being an Aries because we're known for being kind of like a little stubborn and we do it anyway. We might ask opinions, but at the end of the day, we're gonna do what we want to do. So
You're a
I
fire
know
sign, right? Fire?
the fire sign, yeah.
Yeah, so am I. I'm Sagittarius. I'm fire.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. See, yeah. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are fire signs. Totally. I
So that
love it.
and Spain sounds like an amazing adventure too.
It
So
was so fun. Yeah, it was really it was incredible. Actually, it's funny, a friend of mine is there right now and she's like, "Now I understand why you love it so much."
she's not coming back now.
No, I'm joking with her. I'm like, "So did you find your apartment? Like, where are you going to be staying?" Yeah, because she loved it too. It's so funny. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And if anyone's interested on being a guest on your podcast or connecting with you, where can they do that?
Yes, absolutely. So the best way would be to find me on Instagram and either email me because my email's at the top. It's goldhoopsgod@gmail.com, or to send me a little DM that you're interested and I will email you. I typically email folks like all the information and a calendar and things so we can book people for guest speaking. Yeah.
Okay, great. So thank you so much. I'm
Thank
going to
you.
end this podcast there. And I want to say thank you again, Dr. Guerra, for being today's guest on Latina Leaders. Thank you, everyone else, for watching Latina Leaders. There will be more inspirational stories soon. So please subscribe to our channel. Please connect with us on Instagram, and we'll see you all soon. Ciao.
Thank you.